Hi students, welcome to session 10. So this is the last session of unit 2. So in this session we are going to discuss contemporary trends in innovation and creativity. When you look at the entrepreneurship, it is changing time to time because of several changes that are happening in our society, especially from the perspective of technology, society, and many other dimensions. Especially when you look at the technology and the society, you'll find the entrepreneurial activities are now more creative and innovative driven activity. In this perspective, we need to understand the contemporary trends and changes that are happening with the creativity and innovation, especially from the point of tourism, particularly tourism, and in general, even in the service sector, how this innovation and then creativities are very essential, and the changes that are happening in this particular area. So keeping in mind this, there are the four modules the design and four modules related to describing various aspects of recent trends, trends in the innovation and creativity. So when you look at the module 45 of this session 10, so it is to understand in a couple of slides centrality of innovation in tourism. So that means if you just look at the learning objective, the learning objective is to know the importance of creativity and innovation in tourism and travel business, and then how actually the centrality of the innovation happening in the tourism industry. So that is the main aspect of this particular module. So when you look at the centrality of innovation in tourism, in the sense, so from where we just look at innovation in tourism industry, and when you see the various issues of the tourism industry and the necessity of the tourism, from that we can understand the trends that are happening in the tourism industry as far as innovation and then creativity are concerned. So tourism industry is one of the fastest growing sectors of the world economy. We all know that. So year after year, we can see the contribution of tourism industry for world economy is gradually increasing. When you see that economy of the world in terms of tourism contribution, it is mainly international receipts and then employment. So if you see that innovation process is the driver behind this complete the progress and then gradual the development of tourism industry and its contribution to economy at the world level and even in the level of various the countries and their economies. So here, unless and until there are some kind of innovative practices in industry, that is not going to happen. So this module is all about to understand. So in tourism industry, so when it is growing and developing, so definitely there are some kind of new things that are emerging. So we'll see that what are they. So constant accumulation of incremental change are the essential of a small number of revolutionary changes. You can see the constantly, and you'll find continuously changes are happening in the tourism industry. So from that perspective, if you just look at the centrality of innovation in tourism, and tourism is revolutionized by the new technologies, internet, complete internet involvement in tour operations and then travel services. A new market, like especially in Asia, we can see that the new market is created and expanding existing market year after year because the new destinations are added, new actually the services are created. So you can see that So many things are happening in tourism industry. So new organizational forms like a budget airlines and then low cost carriers, and you'll find variety of the transportation, the services. So you'll find a number of innovations are happening as far as uses of internet is concerned, and then the market expansion, and then discovering new market for tourism business. So then you can see that organization level you'll find several the forms of innovations in terms of different business models altogether. So in that way, you can see that the tourism is revolutionized by several innovative practices. So the tourism characterized by the changes like in markets and then consumer the preferences, because it is continuously ever changing phenomena. So because now the market is the dynamic, and then the consumer preferences and expectations are the totally different, because these are all changing like neutrons. So in that context, you can say managing the preferences and then expectations of the consumer is the main issue here as far as innovation and the creativities are concerned. So in the drives for competitiveness actually. So when you look at this kind of situation, it leads to competitiveness and competitive advantage in technology and in the organization of the factors of production in political economic conditions. So in the given the conditions, because the tourism sector is so volatile and then easily affected by any kind of changes, the political, economic, or technological, or any the change that happens in the society, which is going to affect so easily. For example, you can take Corona, pandemic. So how this health pandemic is affecting the tourism industry. So now in this critical juncture, so now the innovation and creativity of continuing and then sustaining and discovering new the practices in tourism business is the now essential aspect of tourism industry. So in that context, you can see that now tourism industry the further. So these changes are bound together in completing different patterns of innovations that are evident throughout the tourism sectors, whether it is transportation or entertainment or hospitality. In all these aspects, we can see that especially transportation, as I said, there are several innovative practices, and entertainment, of course, day by day you need changes, and hospital sector also, as far as technology is emerging and new ideas are floating. So the accommodation sector itself is now the subject to the changes. Right, they are also manifested under different. The scales are scales are introduced at the individual level, at farm level, and tourist level. So in all this level, we can see that the destinations and the nation level tourism, the systems, so all are now related to innovations and then creativity. So further, if you just look at the the tourism innovations that covers all the core aspects of the tourism systems. It is not only for the elite the places, but even everyone can involve now in the tourism activity. So in that context, you can see that example, a small hotel that creates its the form website. So the creating website is now a common the feature. So when you look at the creating website is the common issue. So there is a need of a kind of innovation and creativity in designing website and then maintaining website and then reaching the customers ultimately to get the business. So that is the another example. So at the same time, if you see the restaurant and that introduces the new dishes to appeal to an emerging the tourism market. So always now you can see the changes happens in the restaurant level, and then dishes are the menu that you are just going to create for the tourists. So that is going to be a completely new in this the dimension. So these are all the central issues of tourism industry. So further, if you just look at the various dimensions of innovations in terms of how tourism is situated in relation to the broader economic, socio, and then political the changes. Because of these changes, so always the tourism sector is in the helm of using innovation and then creativity. So the first of all, if you see that there have been the changes in the organization of work and leisure time, and then absolute and then relative income distribution. So because of these the changes, you can see there is a need of the creation and then coming out with the new ideas. So increasing disposable income, non-work time, and consumerism preferences, and the impact of tourism and development of new forms of holidays. So the changes in the market, the structure, the created a more affluent work class, which is in favor of new forms of tourism. So all these are various dimensions of this particular area. So the second important thing in the centrality, the sources of tourism innovation often lie outside the sector itself. So, for example, development in technology sources from other the firms, and then external the regulatory changes like airlines, and then other the foreign exchange, the controls and regulation system, and it stimulates the the innovations, and then continuously you can see the many changes happens in the tourism industry. So as far as technology is concerned, technological innovations sourced from the suppliers led to the development of new labor practices like electric electric conditions, and then so all these are the various issues of the tourism industry. So at last you can see that the third one, tourism is the powerful driver of innovations, because these two are aligned. So without innovation, tourism is not going to sustain. So through forms behavior, role of, for example, American Express in making the credit card popular, or through deliberate government policy making and intervention like urban regeneration of strategies. So all these are the different aspects of innovation in tourism. And the fourth one is the tourism acts as a the powerful the conveyor and then transmitter of new ideas and then innovations. So we can use all these the new ideas and then the new practices so easily in tourism sector to satisfy and then meet the expectations of the consumers. So this is the the centrality. And if you look at the tourism industry, so its features and then its complete activities and functions are very much involved innovation and creativity. So that is the main thing that we can understand from this model. So with this, let me just stop here and thank you very much. Let us meet in the video 46.